Okay, so what's going on with melee stuff right now? What's the lesson about?
So I'd say like the top three things is just like um, I'm trying to figure out how to consistently improve without
Mm-hmm.
like being able to play net play a lot. Like it's to the point where like even with people that are close to me it lags. So it's like
That's
I
pretty rough.
basically I maybe play like an hour or two of net play a week, and most of it's unranked or with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really work too well when because like I started in like 2014, like
Okay.
obviously competitively and stuff, but uh, over the past 2 years, I kind of have the old school mindset of like you have to play people to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out how to reverse engineer that and do it without playing a bunch of people. So I've
Mm-hmm.
been on like solo practice, analysis, and all that stuff.
Okay. So do you usually watch your VODs or
Yeah,
no?
yeah, I
Okay.
do. But like I'm good at picking out mistakes, but I'm not always good at like the theory part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which is why I like watching your lessons, which is what I've been
Okay.
doing recently, because I feel like you have a good way of explaining with like analogies and stuff.
Okay. All right. So, um, are you mostly looking to get better at figuring out what you should get better at from your VODs, or like how to solo practice, like that kind of thing, or
Uh, kind of both, to be honest. I
okay.
I like I took one of your concepts from one of your other Falco lessons, where you do
Mm-hmm.
like 15 minutes like every hour or two of solo practice,
Yeah, that's
and
really good.
that's been working for me really well. So it's not like I can't figure out like tech skill and stuff. It's mostly just figuring out the game itself.
Okay, I'll take a look and see what we can come up with. Screen share is working.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're the green one
I'm
or the
neutral.
you're neutral. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Your opponent seems fairly competent, so that's good. Makes it
Yeah,
easier
he's
to analyze.
if there were rankings, he'd most definitely be top 100. He
Oh,
he's beaten some of our top players in Ohio.
I see. Okay. Hmm. Wow, I can't believe you sweet spotted from there. I thought you were dead. Hmm.
Honestly, this is probably one of the worst games to be honest.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The, every game has useful stuff in it. Because a lot of times stuff that's like usually if there's an issue in any game, it's the same issues in all the games. There's usually not like a one game where somebody will like not do something or something like that.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I just felt like I didn't use my lasers like very well at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't do that thing where you do your lasers, see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you don't feel like it's a good representation, what we'll do is we'll watch the next one, and then I'll see if it has similar issues, then we'll go back to this one. But
Okay.
if it's different, then we'll just stick with that one. But I do see some stuff that I do want to mention from this game, but I'll watch the next one and see if it's the same stuff. Hmm. Okay. Also, with the lasers and seeing what they do afterward, that's not super how it works. That's how you'll hear someone like Mango describe it, but that's not really like the mental calculation that he's doing. Um, it's you use the laser to limit what options they can possibly do, and then you try to. It helps you narrow down the options that you can choose for your mix-ups.
Okay.
Because if what Mango was doing was lasering and then seeing what people did, he wouldn't be hitting people. But he's always lasering and going in their face and stuff like that, so clearly he can't just be reacting. But that's just a minor point. It's just something that I hear people say a lot, and it's sort of can maybe misrepresent things.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm a big believer that people are bad at explaining things in this community.
Oh, really? It's really bad. It's like, all right, so why'd you go for the back air there? My heart? I'm like, no. Explain. Okay, so you're neutral again. Let's see. What in the world? Track it. Nice tech.
Thank you.
I miss those like every time. Okay, I think I'm getting a handle on some pretty good things to mention. So, yeah. Let's watch one more stock.
Alright.
The same issues are definitely there, though. There's basically no difference between this game and last game.
Maybe it just feels like that.
The exception is that you had a lot more space on Dreamland, so you were able to just get lasers out, but, like, the intentions and stuff are basically the same. Which is, like, it's like how it always is, pretty much. Oh, that was crazy. Really surprised at F Smash yet.
It's so cringy to watch myself like miss basic stuff.
Imagine if you played this game like as like a professional, and then it's the same exact feeling. You're just like, wait, I'm not even good. Like, you're watching yourself play Mango at like Summit for like thousands of dollars, and you're like, why am I even here? Like, and everyone feels like that. So it's because we play a very good game, so it's very difficult.
Yeah, this is lag.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning that. Yeah, okay, so let's just wait till the game finishes. Alright, yeah, there's a couple things that I can talk about. I think the biggest one, though, is that... So, I'm pretty sure you literally did, like, 0 whiff punishes, like, the entire time. So if you can... I'm not sure how many of my other videos you've watched, but I'll just sort of go into the basic stuff, and you can let me know if you've seen stuff. But, so, if you... let's say you're playing somebody who's like way worse than you, and
Okay.
they're just sort of throwing out moves. You don't want to just also throw out moves towards them because, like, inevitably you will get hit by some of the moves. So, when you're playing somebody, if they're going to give you free openings, your goal should be to get free openings. Like, if they're going to whiff things and give you a punish and you didn't have to risk yourself, like, they spot dodge or something like that, and then you just get like a free down air, that would be really nice. Like, if they just did that 4 times and you were able to win the game without taking any damage, that's pretty nice. And so that should be your primary goal, is like, first of all, you like, not your primary goal, like, but you have to build up like this layer of whiff punish ideas before you can get to the layer of like not whiff punishing, because like, you're trying to whiff punish everything they do, they're trying to punish everything you do, and then once you reach this point where like no one can whiff punish anyone very effectively, sometimes it'll still happen, obviously, but like, then the game sort of turns into more mix-ups and stuff like that, or like more dangerous mix-ups is what I should say. But I feel like you kind of skip that, and most of your moves that you throw out are in positions where you don't have a meaningful advantage and there was no bait going on, and so it seems like you're kind of like looking at a position and being like, okay, Falco is in this spot, and I have kind of a feeling that if I like put an attack in this position, then like some of the options that Falco can do out of this position will get hit by my attack. That
Yeah.
is the feeling I get watching it, is that there was never like a point where like he does an option and you go like, aha, like that is the option that I just baited out, and now I'm going to punish it. So like
Yeah.
there's
It
there
feels like I look at like what he does, and I just try to like be like, okay, he does this a lot, and then I try to punish it directly
yeah,
with
like
like
you're kind of trying to
advantages.
punish like probability spaces. But the thing is that like I don't actually see anything that you did that punished something specific. All of the things that I saw, I mean, it might be punishing some general habits, but a lot of it looks very like probability based and very like, I don't know, like very, it lacks like a certain intentionality, and so because of that, it'll be difficult to consistently beat somebody of like this skill level, because like what you want is like, like you dash in, you dash back, maybe they auto cancel bear out of shield or something like that, they miss you, and then you just come in for like a clean hit. Like that is like a really common opening in like high level Falco Dittos. And in this match, like pretty much none of the situations that I saw were like that. So we can go through some specifics now. One small point is that I personally think that runoff laser and drop through laser are the best openers, but that's just my personal recommendation. You're free to do this if you want, but both runoff laser and dash drop off laser will beat approaching laser here. So you're just gonna kind of like get laser shined a lot in center. This is kind of like an aggro opening, but it's, I don't think it's super good. It's my opinion. But you get the shine out of this. Okay. So we'll go through a lot of them. So this is just sort of a general case, but like, okay, so he misses his laser. So you get the laser out, and you're right here. You need like a reason to go in. So there has to be some form of like, why am I attacking Falco in this position? What am I doing to get in on him? And so like just throwing out the down air here after the laser at this distance, this sort of has like a cap to it, where, so the reason why the best players are the best players is because any action they take has plans and intention behind it. So, one sec. Okay. So, the more intention you can put into your movement, the better. And so something like the more times you can bait your opponent and like look for specific openings and like have like a framework that you're working off of, the better, because that allows you to like put weight behind your decisions, where it's like the more mental energy that you can put into interactions, the better off you'll be, basically, as like a general rule. And so by going for laser down air here, it's kind of like, what's the best way to describe it? It's like maybe like an author who like doesn't use adjectives or something like that, where like, where like if all you have is like this very simple interaction of like I lasered him and then I down aired in. There's no depth to that interaction, where it's like even if, you know, Mango or someone was playing this interaction and they did laser down air in at this distance, there's no depth that they can add to that. There's no mix up going on here other than the fact of like maybe he'll just totally let me hit him with my down air. That's like as far as it goes.
Yeah,
so
definitely put another laser out.
So yeah, you could get another laser out. You can approaching laser. You can dash dance. I'm sure you've seen me talk about Falco's dash dance in the videos.
Yeah.
Have you seen the one with chill? It's called
I don't really remember the names, to be
Okay,
honest.
it's called Falco's dash forward.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay, so yes, I think that's like a pretty important lesson of like realizing that like when you have this situation, a dash forward is a non-committal threat to the other Falco, and that adds some depth to this interaction. Whereas if you just laser and down air, the thing is also maybe even if you did like laser, short hop in, late down air, then at least it's not literally just laser down air, like the most simple, straightforward of possible things to do.
Mm.
So, yeah, because of that, you're basically just hoping that he lets you hit him. Because there's no indication that you'll be able to hit him here. There's no bait going on. You don't have any sort of framework for why it'll hit. It's just like kind of like, all right, yeah, maybe he'll just let me hit him. And so he does, but he jumps into it, so he's ahead on frames, and so you could have just easily gotten shined out of this, but he shields afterward. And so you get away for free, and you hit with a down air, but like, that's one example. We'll keep going. So you get into laser control, you get this approaching laser, he goes to platform, this is very normal. You go for this down air, it's fine, I guess. Okay, so now he has lasers. Coming down with this laser, really aggressive and not necessarily with a lot of intent behind it. You're just sort of like, I'm jumping to center stage and I'm lasering. And it goes way above his head, and it's kind of like, okay. And then, okay, he just runs right into that, so. And then, yeah, that's another kind of weird high laser. And then this, you're going for the pressure here, but like...
That was a tech flaw, if I'm being honest, the full hop. I did mean to do a short hop pressure.
I was talking about the short hop, actually, but it's just because it's too straightforward. Like, you're not using dash dances here, or like spacing in like any way to like necessarily do something. Like, it's a little bit difficult to describe it, I guess. I'm working on it. Okay, so laser forward tilt, that was fine. Let me find some more examples here. So another issue that I want to mention, and we'll sort of be going over both of these, I guess, but you treat the matchup sort of as if you're playing a different character. I don't really know exactly how to say that, where it's like you're not treating it like a Ditto, where like anything he can do, you can do. And it might be because, maybe he's a little faster than you or something like that.
Definitely.
But I can tell your attitude is definitely that like he's a little bit faster than you, and I think that translates to certain passivity where like you're kind of on the back foot without him actually really earning it. So like
It's almost like a hesitation. Like I always feel like he's gonna like do something faster than me, even though like we probably have like I can probably be faster than him in moments.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of like a feeling about it. So like you have to keep in mind that like ultimately a Ditto is played by mix-ups. There's not really something a player can do to like get an advantage. Like if you're playing someone in a Ditto and you feel like they have an advantage somehow in certain situations, like it's usually not going to end up very well for you, especially when those situations are sort of like grounded laser neutral. So it just feels like there's a lot of positions where you're definitely treating it as like he's coming in really fast and I have to do something about it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And I think you sort of don't really have super great tools to deal with laser either. So I did see you try to CC this laser, which was good. But so the Falco Ditto is a little tricky because it's really really complicated. But all right, let's just wait and look for another situation.
Do you ever feel like you have like the tech skill to do all these options and stuff? Like I obviously have practiced take laser stuff, but like I have a hard time in real time plugging it in to like my matches.
Mm-hmm. Something that might help is trying to play somebody who's like a lot worse than you. And I know you said you don't really get a lot of net play practice, but like if you don't want to do that, you could like do it in like Uncle Punch or 20XX or something, and just either have like a Falco shine your like hold shine with another Falco, and then have it shine your lasers back, and then practice acting out of laser, or get a laser, do a replay thing where a Falco is shooting lasers at you over and over. That might be better, and then.
I usually use the power shield practice thing on there. I don't power shield all the lasers, but like it has a Falco that just shoots lasers at you constantly.
Yeah, practicing dashing out of getting lasered is usually the best thing to practice, I think. But I would say just practice doing that, and that'll probably help. If you're still having trouble after practicing the timing doing it in a real match, it might be because you're not like I'm trying to like I can like feel the things that are here, but it's something that's a little difficult to describe because the issues are not related to any necessarily single gameplay moment, and they're like more generalized issues. It's like you're thinking too much about the threats that your opponent might have on you, and not about the actual. So it's kind of like if you get lasered in a match. If you think about like what stuff your opponent can actually do to you at certain ranges ahead of time, and like basically you have to have confidence that doing a dash back out of laser in certain positions is good. And you don't do it because you can think of a reason in the game at that moment to do it. You do it because you know it's good. That is like
my intuition has the tools, but it's not able to recognize when they're good and when they're not.
What I'm saying is that your goal should be to do good options in the game. And the actual intuitive like playing of the game, like actually being in the moment and like trying to figure this stuff out, is something you layer on top of already doing good options. So you like if you look ahead of time, you're watching the VODs and you see a position where dashing back out of a laser, or just an example, but you look and you see the dashing back out of a laser is a good option there. Then the next time you see a similar situation, don't like think, is this the right time to dash back? Just dash back there out of laser, and then you will get experience whether that situation was the right situation or not. But you have to just do it knowing that it is a good option, or believing that it's a good option in that situation, and then see what happens.
Okay.
So I think like, so that sort of ties into part of what it feels like with when you're playing this guy, is it feels like you know kind of what's good, but you end up sort of like making compromises in the match because you're trying to figure out ways to beat him, and you're sort of subconsciously giving him certain advantages over you, or like you're giving subconscious concessions that in certain situations he's better and stuff like that. But your goal should just be to always do the options you know that are good, and then go from there. And so the reasoning I give people a lot of times is that, like, if you have a game plan and you stick to the game plan no matter what, and you lose, then you just go back and look at the VOD, and when things go wrong, you adjust your game plan. But if you come in with a game plan and then things start to get a little messy and you kind of go off script and you kind of start doing things that sort of feel right but aren't necessarily in the game plan, then when you lose, the only thing you can do is say, well, next time maybe I'll follow the game plan. And so following the game plan and doing the options that you know are good, or you think are good from analysis, just doing those options without necessarily paying too much attention to what you're thinking in the actual game, those contribute a lot more usually to growth because they give you better things to look at later in your analysis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like what you're saying basically is that I have like this disconnect between like my analysis and how I feel when I play the game, right?
That's what
And
it feels like watching.
yeah, well, no, I think you hit the nail. Uh, it's just I'm just trying to think of more ways to bridge that gap because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times
Good.
it's hard to put myself unless the games are like fresh. Maybe a strategy I could do is like looking at the games right after I play them. Maybe give myself 5 minutes, you know, instead
Wait,
of waiting like a
wait, so
day or
what's the what do you mean with the freshness of it? Like what?
so like
Yeah.
if I forget how I feel during the game, like in certain situations, and then I wait like 2 days to analyze it, I'll forget completely what it was like when I was playing the game versus if I had analyzed it right afterwards.
I think the point I'm making is that like you should come into the match with certain ideas that I'm going to do this here and this here and this here. And then when so this is for training purposes, right? Because in tournament it all goes out the window and everybody obviously you don't want it to go out the window, but a lot of times under pressure and stuff like that in tournament, the games do end up a bit messier. That's just sort of how it is. But when you're training, you want to go in with sort of ideas of like, this is exactly how I'm going to play. And you just try to play like that. And then when you analyze your match, you can analyze where you deviated from your game plan if you want to do that. But you don't need to analyze how you feel during a set. In fact, a lot of times how you feel about it might influence your analysis away from like sort of objective reality, where like you'll be like, well, Falco was at this spot and like I'm not objectively threatened here, but I felt threatened in the match, so this decision was justified or something like that. But that's not like logical, you know? Like that that's looking past the situations in the game at sort of more like the mental aspect of it. And the mental aspect of it is just sort of something that you will always do while playing the game, but it's not how you get better at playing your character.
I
Like
see.
the right way to play the character has nothing to do with like being human, you know? Like our the human fight part of the game is like a really sick part of the game, but the choices that we make, like the move choices with the character and like when to dash and like when to shield and stuff like that, those and those are like objective things that we can look at in an analysis and say, okay, I should have shielded here or whatever. And like, yeah, you want to look at reactable windows and stuff like that because obviously, you know, somebody's up in the air and they're downing you and you're standing there and you're like, oh, if I had just shielded this frame perfect thing, then I would have been fine. So you can't look at that. You have to look at like reactable spots, and then that's where mix-ups come from, where you say, okay, here's this position. If Falco does these two options, I can cover it with option A, and if he does these two options, I can cover it with option B. So I guess I will, you know, mix those up in the sense that like you will then use your intuition or your game sense or your feelings to choose which in those situations which one of those two options you want to use in the moment. But choosing which options that you think about depending on the position, those are things that happen outside of the game through analysis and are completely independent of like how you felt while playing.
Hmm. Yeah, that seems right, to be
The
honest.
more thoughts you can give on this, the better. So, because I'm trying to understand your understanding of it too, so I can
Well,
teach you the
I
best.
just feel like I have a hard time like figuring out, you know, like uh like what my options are in a certain situation. Like I can like just enumerate like, oh yeah, I can do this, and this, but it's like the insight into like
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing, and I don't always. I feel like that's where I mess up because I am like, okay, well I could do this, and then like, I try in a game, it's like, okay, it works sometimes, sometimes doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't always have the ability to like come up with the reasons why in analysis. So it's
Okay.
kind of like trial and error, which is very inefficient in my opinion.
Okay. So, um, let's try to find a situation that we can talk about here. Something that's kind of ambiguous. Nothing really ambiguous has happened. Good shine grab. The enumerating thing, that is what you want to do. But you don't want to just enumerate your options. You need to enumerate the possible consequences of those actions too.
Yeah, I definitely get into a mindset where I can do that for like one option maybe, and then like I completely forget about every other option.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult calculation to make. So, okay, let's say like right here, okay? So he shielded this laser. What options do you have?
Laser in
Okay.
place, dash in, dash out.
Okay, so let's start with laser in place. So if you
Okay.
laser in place again, what is the strongest option that he can possibly do against laser in place?
Um, I guess try to like take laser to get away from it.
He's shielding though.
Well, okay, all right. So if we're saying he's shielding, then
Well, yeah, because this is the
pull
situation.
up
So
maybe to get out.
let me get back to
Roll.
this. Okay, here we go.
Well, actually, I think I did do two lasers in place.
Yeah, this is the second one.
Yeah.
But the situation, it's like the thing I'm trying to say is like all past and previous situations are now irrelevant. Or like all
Okay.
previous situations are irrelevant. This is the situation. Like just think of this as like a game state.
Okay.
Like of a state that's very isolated. And
All right.
so
Sorry. Go ahead.
so you have laser in place. So what can the Falco do to laser in place again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
He could roll.
Okay, so you can roll away. What does roll away do?
Kind of just gives him a little bit more distance so he can get away.
Right, but it
Maybe
also
just
puts him
gives
into the
one more.
corner.
That too. Yeah.
Okay. So what other options does he have against laser in place?
Maybe he tries to like jump and then double jump out of the hit stun of
Mm-hmm.
the laser.
Mm-hmm. Or he could just like full hop. So you have like so those are both sort of like the same idea of like okay, so this doesn't seem very good for Falco if the only thing he can do to avoid another laser is to roll back or jump out of it. And so those aren't very threatening options, but when you do another laser, then you're also not like if you did another laser in place here, you're basically forcing him to do one of those two options. And so if you were in a situation where you wanted him to do one of those two options, and I don't think this is that bad here that he has to roll back, and maybe like let's say you were on like FD, and so there weren't these platforms to hide on, and you were in this situation, then another laser in place basically forces the roll back, which is pretty good. And so that would like you okay, so I see some reasoning here for another laser in place. All right, so what other options do you have?
Do I have or does he have?
Well, no, that's basically all he's got with a repeated laser.
Oh, okay.
Because like,
I see.
if you imagine you're this Falco and the guy's there's another laser in place, I'd probably go up to the platform or I'd roll back or something like that. So those are very defensive options, and neither one of those threatens you. So you know that from this situation, if you laser again, he is going to go up or he's going to go back. There's no way he's going to be able to go forward. This is like our so the thing is there might be like weird little options that we're not really considering, but that's sort of the point of analysis, is that like you build these sort of option trees and you just have to very confidently be like this option and this option, got it. And then when you play a game and you see that you have him lasering here, he's in this position and you laser here and he does something you'd never expected, then you add that to your list.
Okay.
So let's say, so what else do you have here? So the laser in place is very passive, and you can force an eventual defensive option from him, but you're not really getting anything out of that. So what can you do? What else can you do from here?
I could do like a half approaching laser, so I stay out of his out of shield options, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
closer and I have a laser out.
Yeah, so if you do a half approaching laser here, what options does he really have that counter that?
Uh, just like immediately like out of shield options, like shine out shield or like something like that. If I went for like an aerial or something right after.
No, that he has to counter just the half approaching laser.
Oh, just the half approaching laser. Uh, I guess he could roll, but it's basically just a
Okay,
reset.
so he has basically the same options as before, but the difference is what does he see? So when you do a laser in place, he will see you short hop directly up, and then he knows that the thing that's coming is another laser. But if you do a half approaching laser, you're gonna dash forward first. So he will see the dash forward, and so we don't necessarily know what that means yet, but we have to keep it in mind. So for laser in place, he sees you jump straight up, and he knows that his only two options to counter the laser are to roll back or jump. So we have that, and we know that for the half approaching laser, he will see a dash forward, and then you get a laser right here. Okay, so let's just quickly list out your other options. You have maybe a dash forward early aerial. You have a dash forward late aerial. You have a dash forward full approach laser. So if you do an early aerial here, his best option is to continue holding shield. And so that would mean he would need to see a dash in, and he keeps holding shield. And then if you'll like nair him or something, like short hop nair or short hop down air, and he gets maybe, a shine out of shield or something like that. So
Okay.
there's that. And then there's dash short hop late aerial. And so what he wants to do against late aerial is he would, if he knew it was coming, he would probably want to do a like short hop back and then do his own down air here, or he would want to laser in place and then try to beat that while you're in the air. But the reason why those don't come up very often is because the options that beat late approaching aerial lose to early approaching aerial. That makes sense so far? You on the same page?
Yeah. it
Okay.
makes sense. It's just I have a hard time coming up with like comparing my sets of options.
Okay.
So I think I need to do this more where I pause on like a certain like after
This
I get like
types
a
of
certain.
this type of calculation is literally in is so important. It's like this is how you learn to play the game correctly, basically. And a lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people avoid this because they go, dude, Falco could do anything. You know, like that's the kind of the feeling in Melee is like, man, like these, like, I trying to lock him down to these couple options, and then he could just do anything, you know? But the
Yeah,
idea,
I've definitely had that thought process before.
and that's true for everyone. That's sort of the brain's way of like going limp, and it just kind of goes, that's too much calculation. Thanks, good night. And and that's just sort of what happens. But like whenever that happens, you have to just slow down and like go back and like try to look at something very limited. So this is a situation. The reason why I chose this one where he's in shield is that he has significantly less options than he would if you had lasered and he had taken laser. So if you're having trouble and you're trying to think through a situation and your brain goes, well, whatever, he has way too many options, you know, which is like what brains do, then you might want to pick a situation where it's a little bit more forcing or like a little bit more like he has less options to pick, you know, maybe an edge guard or something like that, and sort of practice that calculation in a situation where things are simpler.
Okay, so
That's sort of a way
it,
to work through that. But yeah, what were you saying?
so when you watch through games, do you always just like watch the whole thing and then like look for things that are repeating, or do you just like uh look through the game and be like, okay, well, this never gets me anything, or just like both?
Hmm. You're saying when I'm analyzing like my games or something like that?
Well, just in general, like for analysis, like what do you think's most effective for
Okay,
finding
so
the
when I'm
situations that are most important for improvement?
so for me watching videos of people who are coming to me for lessons, I kind of get to cheat because I know what really good gameplay looks like very cleanly already. And so I just watch your VOD, and then anything that's different from what I know is the correct gameplay, my brain just goes, oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not right. But that's not how you can analyze your own VODs. Like, that's not how I analyze my own VODs. Because if I mean somewhat, you know, but like when I like obviously I make a lot of errors in my own play too, and when those things pop up and they're different from what I know optimal play is, so basically if you know what something like what really good play looks like in a situation and your play looks different from that, that's step one. You just want to look at, okay, what did I do differently than what correct play is in this situation. So
So
that's the easy.
watching like pros would probably be best.
um it's more like that's sort of something that happens like intuitively based on your other learning. It's like, let's say you watched a video of someone and it was like their first week playing Melee. It would be really easy for you to look and be like, okay, like you keep missing your wave dashes, like, you know, you're not L canceling. Um every time you're off stage, you always recover in the exact same way. You wouldn't have to like put in effort to like see those things. Those things would just jump out at you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so this is the part of analysis you don't really need to worry about. It's just like a part of analysis that sort of happens, and you can't really consciously improve it because the whole nature of it is that it's your subconscious ability to like see what's good and bad gameplay. But that is something that will improve over time as you improve your sort of conscious analysis at other elements of the game. So, so then to continue, so there's those things which you can just see instantly, and you go, "Ah, oh, that's bad. I should have done this and this," and that's just sort of like an intuition thing that like gets built up. But the other part of it is, like you said, you look at situations that repeat, or you look at situations that are uncomfortable. Like so, like you have to diagnose it. Like, let's say you're playing a fox and you short hop auto cancel back air, and then they just punish it, and like you short hop auto cancel back air and they dash dance up smash it, right? And you go, oh, and then you think, okay, so if you're not very good at analysis, you might look at that and you might say, okay, don't ever auto-cancel backer. Easy enough. If I didn't do that auto-cancel backer, he wouldn't have up-smashed me. But that's not understanding the root of what happened, because the reason why you are doing that back air is to try to cover some sort of option. And so a lot of times you have to look at what immediately preceded that situation to see why you... Like, if you see a situation where you got hit, you have to look back and say, okay, what caused me to get hit here? And it's like, why did I throw out this move? And you don't necessarily have to have, like, a memory of why you just did it when you were playing. Sometimes that can even cloud it a little bit. But, like, for instance, the reason why someone does that short hop auto-cancel back air against Fox is because they're afraid of Fox jumping in on them. And so you think, okay, what is an option I could replace this back air with to beat that option where Fox is jumping in at me? And then maybe you watch a pro match and you look and you say, and you're watching with... I always tell people this: if you're watching a match of like Mango or Ginger or me or anybody like that, you want to watch with a question already in mind. And you can watch the same VOD. Like, there are videos that I have watched like 10 or 15 different times, like months apart. And each time I watch it, I come in with a different question and find new things. You're not just looking at a match and just like absorbing the mango. You're like, you have to, that is a funny way to say it. You have to like come in with a question of like, okay, so when Fox dashes in there and I feel pressured to do this short hop auto cancel back air, what did Mango do instead? And then when you see what Mango does instead, you then have to say, okay, so if I do that, so there's two options there. You can theory craft it, and you can say, okay, if I do that, what can Fox do? Or you just try it in a match and you see what happens. So... Okay. So that's one thing, is that when you're comparing to pro VODs, always have a question in mind that you're trying to answer very specifically from the VOD, and just sort of tune out all the situations that aren't the thing you're specifically looking for. And that will help you, like, not get overwhelmed with the fact that there's, like, a 5,000 things going on in, like, a melee match. So, and then another thing you were saying is, like, if a situation... So that's one thing, is you look at an isolated situation, you say, why did I lose this situation? Usually it'll be something that immediately preceded the situation, where your opponent threatens you, you throw out a move, you go, okay, how do I respond to this threat in a way that doesn't just make me lose? That's like one thing you can do. And then another thing, as you mentioned, is you look through and you see situations that repeat. And a lot of times when you see situations that repeat, you can once again either do this step-by-step analysis, or you can say, okay, when a top player is in this position, what do they do? And then, but the problem a lot of times, and the thing a lot of people face, is that they'll see Ginger in like a situation, and then they'll say, oh, okay, in this situation, Ginger does this, but then because they haven't done this step-by-step analysis of it, they don't realize that like retreating short hop down air or something like that is a mix-up. And so then they'll do that short hop down air and it'll work once and they go, aha, I found it. And then they keep doing it again and then they just start getting hit out of it. And they go, oh, I guess that wasn't a very good option anyway. I don't know why it works for Ginger, but not for me. And like that, a lot of people will actually go through that process. And like, so you can sort of get away with not doing this like raw calculation of options if you're really good at contextualizing the information you get from top player VODs. If you're really good at watching their VODs and saying, okay, they do this sometimes, let me try that, and then, oh, I tried this short hop down air thing and it works sometimes, but the other times they do this option, maybe I can beat that with this. And so that's like a kind of way you can do that if you're watching VODs to sort of steal stuff. But like, ultimately, I would say that doing calculations like this, where you're actually looking at the options that people have and thinking about it, as difficult as it is, this makes improving a lot easier, because then when you watch a top player VOD and they do an option, then your brain goes, oh, okay, they did this option because these are these options, and this is what they're showing in this situation, and it sort of just plugs right into your analysis.
Okay.
And so, to finish going over this situation a little bit, and the thing is you also have to be okay with incomplete game plans, because the thing a lot of people will do is they'll start analyzing a situation like this, and then they'll get kind of sidetracked like we just did, which is fine, but they'll get kind of sidetracked, and then they'll go, where was I? Maybe I'll just sort of jump in and downer here. And it's sort of like, it's okay to have gone through and figured out laser in place and half approaching laser and remembering that they only have these options out of it. It's okay to do that, and then when you're playing the game, try it. Like, you get a laser on a shield, try another laser, see what he does. Try a half approaching laser, see what he does, and see if those ever violate those rules you sort of set up. And if they do, you have to add it to the list. But that'll happen over and over. Like, you're never gonna look at a situation like this and perfectly list out all kinds of situations and have solved the Falco matchup, because it's incredibly complicated. But what you can do is you can build, like I said, you can build a game plan. You can build these tree branches based on your current understanding. Because that's the thing, it's really easy to get caught up in the fact, well, it's like, this is my understanding, but I know this isn't like the game. Like, you're not really going through every possible situation, but that's okay. It's okay to have a limited model. Because then what you do is you go into the game, you try to put this limited model on top of the game. You try to force this limited model on the game. And when the game moves outside of your model, then when you rewatch the video, you simply improve your model, and you're one step closer to fully understanding the situation.
Okay, so my only question on that would be, if I can't play a lot, how would I be able to improve this area without, putting in the hours? Because obviously, I can get a lot out of like a short amount of time, but it seems like if I was to really want to improve as fast as possible, I'd have to be able to do this with a lot of gameplay.
That's a good point. So, So, there are... Okay, so obviously, not being able to play a lot is kind of a weakness. That's kind of just like objectively, like, you can't grind all day. That's not very good. But there are ways.
I can do everything but net play for
right.
Lots of time.
So, what you can do, and this is obviously a lot more difficult, and this is kind of what like Armada did and stuff like that, is you can shadowbox. And the idea of shadowboxing is you get a situation like this, you just put a Falco here. It's like literally like a nothing Falco. Like, it's literally like you can just put like an empty CPU here, and then you just look at this situation and you try to see what there is. So basically, like, if you can't play your own games and compare this, then what you do is you do your own analysis, and then you watch other people's games and you compare it. So, for instance, like, let's just look up like a random Mango video. Give me 1 second. Mango. Oh no, let's look up Ginger Magi, because that was an interesting set. And let's look up.
Yeah, definitely gonna be playing.
What was that?
Huh? Oh, I didn't say it.
Oh, it must have been. That must have been in the VOD before I muted it. Okay, so let's try to find a situation where Ginger gets a laser on Magi's shield. And notice that there's all this stuff happening in the VOD, but we're not actually going to pay attention to that. That is not going to help us, because that's not what we're looking at. So all this stuff is happening. We're just waiting. We're just waiting for Ginger to get a laser on Magi's shield from that specific distance. And if that doesn't happen for the entire match, that's fine. You just move on. But this is how you should approach it, is you're looking for those specific situations that come up. So, let's just hope it comes up in this game. That's like what you have to do. So this is the process if you don't have the ability to play. And this is honestly what you'd probably be doing anyway. Okay, all this stuff is happening. Wow, really? There hasn't been a single laser on shield yet. Very interesting. Oh, it's too close. It's too close. Okay, almost. I was like, is that it? Nope. Okay, it looks like there might not even be one this game. And that's just a testament to how immensely complex the Falco Ditto is. Is like, you would think that lasering on a shield would come up more often. But the truth is, I guess it doesn't, because there really are that many situations. Like, the Falco Ditto is one of the most complicated matchups in the whole game. Alright, let's look again. And let's see if there's a situation this game with laser on shield. Part of the truth is that shielding a laser at that distance is pretty winning for the guy who gets the laser. And so, a lot of times with high-level Falco Dittos, you're not going to see too many of those. But I do really want to see it. Ah, so close. Come on. That's really funny that not a single one of these has come up yet. But this is just how you have to watch. Because you have no other way, like, you can't get the information from your own matches, so you have to find information in recorded matches. And it looks like they're just not gonna give us one. Just shield once in your life, Magi. Just shield one time. Would help us out a lot. Instead, she keeps attacking from the platforms and stuff like that. This is why I hate watching pro sets. Well, that's just how it is, Over. You just have to watch, and you look for a situation that comes up, and if it doesn't come up, then it's rough. It's rough, and you just keep looking for VODs until you find it. But this is the only alternative, because when you're playing your own matches, you can simply force the situation to come up. It doesn't look like it's going to come up in this. Is this the end of the set? Okay. It has to come up on FD. It has to come up on FD. Oh, wait. The FD game was back here. What in the world? But if you're Armada and you have no matches to watch, that's when you do shadowboxing. But shadowboxing is a lot more difficult. Basically, Armada just sat there for years looking at stuff like this and figured stuff out. That's just literally how it is. But I'm trying to give a method for finding... I swear they just literally aren't going to get in that situation. And this might be just because... might just be because Magi doesn't shield much there or something. BBB shields lasers more. Yeah, I don't really want to watch a Bobby set, though. Okay, we'll watch this for like 2 minutes and see if it comes up. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of shields already. This is a good sign. So I don't actually care who does it in this match, whether it's Mango or Ginger.
Are you pretty selective about who you watch, by the way? Because no offense to Bobby, but like I don't usually like watching.
You're not gonna learn much from watching Bobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'd call that selective. With Falco, I would say stick to Mango and Ginger, and then there's like small things you can learn from the other Falcos, but I think Ginger is the easiest Falco to learn from, because even when he's doing a lot of bad stuff, he's determined to be... He's, like, always trying to do good stuff. So if something goes wrong for him, then, like, when something goes wrong... So Ginger is actually a perfect application of this concept, where, like, when something goes wrong for him, it's because his game plan was bad. It's not because his... It's not because he intuitively chose a nonsense situation in the moment. Oh, so close. So close. Give us one. You guys are both... You guys both know this situation too well. Nobody... Oh! Okay. There it is. There it is. And of course, Mango freaking forward smashes there. Okay. So this is the situation that we had before. The difference is that they're a little bit closer together than our situation, which isn't coming up on Slippy. What is going on?
When you pause the video, it probably pressed play for the Slippy VOD.
Wait, so how far in was it? Whatever. We know the situation that we're looking at. This is a little bit closer. So the reason why Mango... So let's think about why Mango forward smashes here. This is still very relevant. And so obviously you don't want to be forward smashing here because you're not Mango yet. Maybe someday you'll be Mango, and then you can do this. So the reason why Mango is forward smashing here is because because Ginger does not have a good roll into the corner here. So remember we said that Falco's only two options from repeated laser here. So he doesn't know he's going to repeated laser here, but like let's say, he does an aerial or something. The only roll away and full hop are the only options that get away pretty safely. And roll here is going to put him in the corner into a really bad position. So basically, by doing this forward smash, Mango is betting that Ginger will full hop out of shield here, and then the forward smash will hit, and then he'll get like a good edge guard or something. But this is not the perfect situation to show it in, but it's at least an application that we can look at of like... So Ginger continues shielding here, and so he gets out of it. So watching these VODs was not as useful as I had hoped, and this is actually a good lesson in the fact that you can't rely on these VODs to fully flesh out situations for you, and it can be useful, but ultimately you're going to end up back at the sort of calculation zone. And so sometimes watching those VODs, the thing is, if we were looking for a different situation than this shield VOD, than this shield thing, there might have been like 20 situations that popped up that we could use. But because I chose probably a bad decision to choose specifically that laser shield thing, I thought it might come up more, but it didn't. But you could do that with any situation. But the idea is like find situations where they either come up a lot or they're really simple. And those are the situations that you want to start calculations on first. So let's go back really quick. We're almost at an hour, but I just want to finish up what I was talking about with the laser on shield thing. So your options, you can laser in place or you can dash forward. So you can jump directly up for a laser in place or you can dash forward. Those are your two main options out of that situation. And so when you dash forward, your options out of it are short hop early aerial, short hop late aerial, approaching laser, or half approaching laser. Those are realistically your options. And so then you think, okay, so what can Falco do? What's Falco's most obvious option that beats early approaching aerial? It's shield. Interesting, because shield directly loses to late short hop aerial and approaching laser. And it doesn't lose to half approaching laser directly, but it's good. Like if you have approaching laser and someone keeps shielding, you're happy with that because it opens up different options. Now you can grab. Now you can run up, shine their shield. Now you can do a half approaching laser again on top of their shield. Now you can dash in, dash back, and they might do a short hop aerial out of shield. So that's if you get the short hop. If you get the half approaching laser, then that makes a new situation which you would have to calculate separately. So let's ignore that for a second, and we'll go back. So if he shields early aerial, then he beats it, but he doesn't beat... But if you do approaching laser, or if you do late short hop aerial, both of those beat shield. Okay, and what beats approaching laser? Approaching laser might get beaten by aerial out of shield, or up smash out of shield. So up smash out of shield and aerial out of shield will probably lose or trade with early aerial, and they'll definitely both lose to half approaching laser. And so you go, okay, and then similar things beat up late approaching aerial, but the difference is that when you late approaching aerial, there's no startup frames of laser to react to, and so they're a lot more likely to hold shield because you're going for because it looks like you're going for an early aerial. And so you're like, okay, if I do the late aerial, it might encourage them to shield more, get hit by the aerial there. If I do the early aerial, that beats them countering my laser in. And when I laser in or late aerial, it beats the shield. And then you go, okay, another option they have is to roll backwards. And so the advantage of the approaching laser is if they roll backwards out of shield, that the approaching laser will hit them again, and I sort of get to restart this situation again. So that's like a mini fleshed out version of that situation. And you can look at that and be like, okay, these are my options. These are the possible counters they have. These are the options. These are the things they have that they could potentially be reacting to. And then now you have the sort of value tree of things in that situation sort of fleshed out. And then when you get in that situation, just pick one of those options and see what happens and see if it ever violates your simulation of it. And if you think of sort of an airtight way to mix things up, like I sort of described, if you just mix those options up, you can kind of see what happens out of it. And like the thing is, I said, like, if you can't practice it, so there's always like a balance between analysis and practice, where like you analyze, you get a bunch of stuff into your brain of like what you're going to do to practice, and then when you practice, you apply it, you see how well it works. So if you don't get a lot of practice, your goal should be to just do way heavier analysis and sort of under the assumption that someday later in the future you will get more practice. And so if you spend time fleshing out these situations and sort of thinking about them a lot and maybe shadowboxing them out a little bit and like trying to like just sort of getting in the game against like a nothing Falco, like an empty CPU Falco, or a CPU Falco in general, and you practice doing those options and thinking about what could they have done maybe to beat this option, you will get a better theory of the game, which is sort of what you came in looking for. And then when you actually do play, you'll have more that you thought about to try to apply. And you basically, playing is like a validation or a refutation of your theory. So you spend time making theory, then when you play, the play either says, man, that theory really was correct, it did work like this, or the play refutes the theory and says, okay, the theory wasn't right, and I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out why these options I was using why the options I was thinking about aren't correct, and you need to go back and add new things to the tree. And I know that sounds difficult, but this is just sort of... If you're trying to get good at the game from a more analytical perspective rather than a grinding perspective, this is how you do it.
Yeah, it makes sense. To be honest with you, I came in looking for exactly what you were talking about, the theory and stuff, but this is a lot to crunch.
It is. And so that's why I would say try to look for situations that come up commonly that are fairly simple, like edge guards, and start trying to flowchart out the edge guards. Or something very simple where maybe they're all the way in the corner and they're shielding. What options do I have there? And I wish that I had a way for you... I wish there was a way to get good at the game without thinking about it and without practicing it. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense, I think. So either you have to spend a lot of time in very sort of painful mental calculation, or you have to play a lot and just hope your brain does it for you. The ideal thing is to do half painful calculation, half play. But if you can't play a lot, you just have to imbalance a little bit more towards the analysis side of it. So what I would say also is maybe like watch these videos or watch some videos of your gameplay, find situations where you lose, and just sort of think what you could have done differently there. Like you get like lasered into a weird spot or something like that. So let's say you get hit here. Right here, he dashes back, he lasers you, you try to down tilt him, and he grabs you. You might just look at this and be like, okay, so his dash back definitely beat my approaching aerial. What would have beaten his dash back? And like, if it's laser, what weaknesses does the laser maybe have? And if you don't really want to think about stuff like that, then you're not gonna be able to get better without grinding.
Yeah.
That's just like the truth of it. Those are like that's the way to get better at the game. And I do understand that it's a little bit overwhelming. So what I would say is, and there's we've been over a lot of general stuff, but you did come in saying you wanted to get better at the theory of the game, so that's sort of where I've been directing it.
No, I appreciate it.
So the key, like I said, and this is probably the last thing I'll say, but I think that you need to be okay with your analysis not being complete. It's okay to look at a situation and reason through it and be wrong. The key is that you are practicing reasoning through situations, and it will improve your analysis regardless. So don't be like, man, I'm doing this, but I swear I'm leaving out options. I shouldn't even be doing this. It's okay to do it and not be perfect.
All right.
And if you have any, if you're confused and you're trying to do this, and you're really having trouble, feel free to hit me up and we can talk through it a little bit more in like a specific situation. Like if you're like, let's say you think of a situation and you're trying really hard to think through it, but you can't really get it, you can double check with me and I'll sort of tell you if you're moving in the right direction or not. That might relieve a little bit of the pressure of feeling like you're trying to solve the whole game from nothing.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I know we went over a lot. Rewatching this lesson might be useful to you. This was one of the more theoretical lessons that I've done. So anyway, good luck and hope you have a good one and we'll talk more later.
Yeah, you too.